Let's go next to Nelson from Bethlehem. Nelson from Bethlehem. Bethlehem, welcome.
Hey there, David. Great show so far this week.
Thank you.
You've been killing like usual.
Appreciate that
I,
very much.
I don't think anybody's touched on this yet today, so I wanted to get your opinion on it. I don't think I've seen it on your show. Are you familiar with Daniel Ortega down there in Nicaragua and the Sandinistas?
Only superficially. I don't have deep knowledge.
Yeah, they're one of those groups that you hear about a lot in the news, but nobody ever really talks about them. So back in September, Daniel Ortega, for anybody that doesn't know, he is like the one real communist leader down there trying to bring socialism to South America again, against the wishes of the United States. In September, he outlawed public displays of Christianity. And about a month ago on Easter, he went and rounded up a bunch of journalists and clergy members and arrested a bunch of people attending Catholic Mass. Now, I'm an anti-theist. I think that all religion is bad and all of it needs to be outlawed. I just think he's being a little heavy-handed with it. I was having a discussion with some of the chat members, and a lot of them are in favor. I was just wondering, do you think that we should, like when it comes to it in the United States, do you think that people it should be a little bit more heavy-handed against the Catholic Church and Christian religion? Or
so here's the thing, okay? There's two different layers to this. Let's talk about the situation in Nicaragua first, and then we'll talk more generally. It seems as though the goal really is to actually go after political opponents of Ortega under the guise of this anti-religion stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that to some degree, they're not just randomly going, for the most part, it doesn't seem like they're randomly going after Catholics, but the idea is targeting opponents of Ortega. Is that your understanding as well?
I would say 90% that is it, but they're also going after the normal people that are like out blocking traffic with Easter parades and stuff. They're going after anyone that's out doing that stuff as well.
Fair. So that's an important clarification. My view is there should be total separation of church and state. I don't ever want to hear scripture cited by an elected official during a debate about what the law should be, the way it's cited in the United States about abortion, about trans issues, about LGBT issues of all. I never want to hear that stuff. I don't want to see 10 Commandments displays at a courthouse. I want separation of church and state, but I also want freedom of religion, which includes freedom to follow any religion or not, and not to be persecuted. So to the extent that the Catholic Church has been involved in child abuse cover-ups, they should receive absolutely no special help whatsoever. But to the extent that, being heavy-handed with just people who go to church and worship, just because I don't do that, doesn't mean that I want the government going after them. So I cannot in good conscience support anything like that.
Okay, well, it's good to hear your opinion on that. And I would like to say, as another thing of clarification, it is mostly political, and a lot of it has to go down to like racial lines because, a lot of the indigenous community down there is not Catholic, and it kind of bounces heads up against it. But thank you for giving your opinion on that, David. I was just curious. And once again, my brother Soft Gentleman is listening in the call-in show. You can't call in, but love you out there, Softy, and love you so much, David. Thank you for doing what you do.
Does that mean, is that like soft serve? What does that mean?
No, it's a nickname going back to when we were in high school. It's just a thing that he did in theater class. Soft Gentleman. It's a long story.
Oh boy, I hope it's appropriate for a PG audience. Geez, Nelson, thank you very much for the call. It is. Okay, good. Thank you very much for the call. And all right, let's continue. Let's go next to Ricardo from one of my favorite cities, I guess in North America, Montreal. Ricardo, welcome to the program. What's on your mind today?
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good to hear. Hey, I know that before I ask any questions, I know this is something that probably many in your audience have asked you time and time and again, but it's actually more of a comment. But I think it would be great to see a debate between you and Ben Shapiro sometime.
Yeah, I'll do it anytime. We've invited him on the program and he doesn't respond. So he may be too big for us now, but he's welcome anytime. I'm glad to do that. But he's the one you've got to convince, not me.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I remember some years back, I think maybe about 2019, I think I watched the debate between you and Ben Shapiro. I'm not sure if there's been any other debates. I think it was in 2013. You and Ben had the debate, but yeah, I think that was a good debate, and I think in a way you kind of like unraveled his arguments, especially about gun control and all that. But to tell you the truth, I know that when during the pandemic, I think the early stages of the pandemic, when the whole George Floyd riots were happening, that's when I really started like listening to you and Ben Shapiro. And there was actually a period of time when I was listening to you, both you and Ben Shapiro, just to sort of get like the left perspective and the right perspective on different things. But I do notice that over time, it seems that his views on things got more and more like extreme. It seems that his views kind of got more to the right. I don't know if you noticed that.
You know, I don't follow Shapiro super closely, but it does strike me that that entire group, Shapiro, former actor Michael Knowles, Candace Owens, they all seem to have become dramatically more extreme. And I don't know if it's that they found out that it's more profitable or interesting, or if they genuinely have become more. I don't really know what the reason is for it. You know, one of the things that I've noticed is that my political views have really not dramatically changed over the last decade. And there's nothing right or wrong with views changing. If you get new information, you revise your views. I think that that's a really great thing. But it does strike me as odd, particularly based on their age. You know, Dave Rubin's another one who, it's just weird when at a certain age you have such such changing views, because it suggests that your views as an adult were already not super well informed if they can change so radically. So it is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I know that in the past you have also talked about how Dave Rubin, probably like when he was in his 30s or 40s, he suddenly went from being liberal or on the left to on the right. And in some ways, he's even kind of like on the radical right. Though I think like there was a time I was actually listening, just for, out of curiosity's sake, I was listening to a interview he was doing with, I think it was Michael Knowles, and there were some things that Dave Rubin still had views on the left of, like on abortion. I think he still agreed that abortion should be accessible to all women, and he just said that he wasn't like ready yet to abandon that abortion should be accessible. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, you know, the Dave Rubin thing is really perplexing to me because he's 46 years old now. And so he had this complete political 180 at like age 38, let's call it. That's like, I mean, think for a second, Ricardo, how crazy it would be if right now, right at my current age at this point in my career, I became a right-wing extremist. Like that would be, would you even believe that, or would you assume I'm doing it because I can do it profitably? Like, is it even viable that I would completely 180 my views right now? It seems so insane.
Yeah, I guess if you were to do that theoretically, that would strike me as like, oh, what's going on here? Did he even have left wing views in the first place?
Right, or were my views so poorly grounded in reality that I didn't even know what I believe? I mean, it would be very weird when I think about it that way. Now that I'm roughly the age that he was when he did his thing, it's really strange. It's really weird to imagine.
I agree. It reminds me a bit of like how when Trump was 60 and he says, "Oh yeah, I saw a kid and you know what? I think I'm gonna be against abortion from now on."
and honestly, I think he was like 66 at that point. It's even harder to believe. Yep, I think it's all very weird, and I do think that they've moved further to the right, Ricardo.
I agree. Yeah, and even Jordan Peterson, I was sometimes it happens that I'll listen to some of his like podcasts and I don't really listen as much as I used to, but I feel like even he's become more radical. Like,
Oh yeah.
I think he had somebody on his show and he was using the term globalist. I'm like, oh shoot,
Oh yeah.
that's really crazy.
No, he's lost his
That's
mind. It's really crazy what's going on, and unfortunately, it's been normalized to where they're seen as kind of like not that extreme. But these are really extreme people. Ricardo, I got to wrap, but I really appreciate you bringing this up.
Yeah, no problem. And by the way, before I go, just one question: is there any right-wing people you'd like to have a debate with next?
Not really. I mean, I'll
Figures.
talk to whoever, but I'm not like pining to debate them. You know, they're pretty bad faith actors in general.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, Ricardo from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Great to see you. Great to hear you, rather. That's going to do it for today. I'm sorry I couldn't speak to everyone, but we will take calls again. Have a great weekend, unless you've got access to the bonus show, in which case we'll see you in a moment.